Greetings, sunshines and sunnies. It is I, Queen J Lotus, Pimp Sun Kiss, coming at y'all right quick, right fast, maybe, for a Royale review for My Wife and Kids, Season 2, Episode 2. Alright, make sure you caught up in that playlist, okay? And I'm gonna try to always make sure to include the link to the playlist in the comment section and the description box so that y'all can make sure that you're all caught up. This episode in particular is a continuation of the most previous episode. It's a two-parter. So, while this is episode 2, this is also part 2 to the story that was introduced to us in episode 1. So we were dealing with Claire and her friend dealing with a pregnancy scare type situation. We're dealing with Katie missing Jay because Jay is away. All right. And Michael is trying to figure out, how to keep all of the things nurtured and disciplined and flowing as days are going. Okay. Then we have Junior dealing with being taken advantage of his friends. And we also were unpacking some daddy issues that we were recognizing in the process there. And, some other deeper things that are being communicated amongst that. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the specificities of this episode. And so we kick it off in the living room with Junior and his friends. So we start back off diving right back into Junior being taken advantage of by his friends. And boy, the manipulation going on here is wild, okay? Junior is asking them, is there anything else that he can get them, being a great host. Because his folks raised him right, you know what I'm saying? They raised him right. He's being hospitable. And let me pinpoint something here real quick, right fast, that I feel like is also at play, okay? Y'all are going to note me mentioning the effects of Michael having been a workaholic businessman and Jay having been the primary caretaker of the kids throughout the majority of their lives. Mind you, Junior's in high school by now. So Michael has had, more time with Katie and Claire, even more Katie, but with Junior, it's crunch time with Junior because Junior is damn near grown. He is damn near 18, you know what I'm saying? So I'm sure from Michael's standpoint, specifically as a parent and given the dynamics and circumstances, that's scary as hell to see his son up there exhibiting these feminine traits that his friends are using to take advantage of him. And to break that down deeper, and this is not me saying, I want to clear that up real quick, right fast. This is not me saying that single mothers raise bitch boys. This is not me saying that. This is not me saying that if the mother is overly involved in the boys' lives, that the boys will become bitches, or that them being hella in tune with their feminine side as a result of that will cause them to be bitched out and all that shit. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, the way that their dynamics are set up where there is equity amongst them, however, there is an imbalanced power dynamic where the man has been the breadwinner and has been the one that works, and the mother has done all of the parenting up until this point that Michael is more present in the household. So the way that Jay handles Junior, off the backs of that being her first child, her only boy, and she was a teenager when she had him, and take into account all of the things that she experienced, having been a teenage mom during that time period, and with all of her circumstances as they were. She has a deep attachment to him in a way that she has coddled him. She has excessively nurtured him to the point where he is excessively nurturing, and he's here excessively nurturing his friends, fawning them, thinking that will stop them from disrespecting him. He has not been taught how to be in tune with his masculine energy or even his dark feminine energy, to stand up for himself to people when people are playing in his face, and to not let people dishonor him, and to not dishonor himself in such the way that he nurtures people who are out to get him. That's a form of toxic femininity. And it doesn't just have to be, a boy in the circumstances that we're dealing with here and that I just described. Women are conditioned in that way a lot. You feel me? And like I said, that's toxic femininity. And this show deals with a lot of that, which is why I pinpointed a lot. And so we'll continue to do so as we go through, right? So he is, like I said, fawning and being excessively nurturing to them as they are disrespecting him. And they are very manipulative, particularly the one that is played by Damon Wayans Jr. I believe his character's name is John. And so, like I said, Junior is asking them if they need anything else. He would like for them to give him anything else, which is something that we usually see women do or girls do. And I'm sure the characters of his friends, they're responding in such the way. That's why they're picking at him, because they've been conditioned that if you see a male exhibiting feminine attributes or specific feminine attributes that are nurturing, of service, things of that nature, that you're supposed to take advantage of them, you're supposed to bitch them out. And so they're responding accordingly to that. He's being nurturing. And so John responds, nah, man, we ain't gonna disrespect your house like that. It's cool. The manipulation, that's premeditated gaslighting. Okay? And so soon as he says that, one of the other friends, I forgot his name, but he's the light-skinned, big-eared one. The one that want to flex because he just tall as shit. And so he said, why don't we teach Junior that game? And John is like, what game you talking about? You talking about this guy? Okay, Junior, check this out. So anybody can play even you. It's so easy, okay? Playing his fucking face, all right? So he said, look, I got these chips, right? All you gotta do is take them from me and say, don't let me see it. And they're yours. So Junior do it. And he said, oh, yeah, you learned that quick. Junior want to dap him up. He looked at that man, roll his eyes, and scoff off to the side, which is very telling. But because Junior is operating in toxic femininity, his antennas is not alert to the regulator cues. his antennas peeped that disdain as I need to work harder. I need to fawn harder in order to get their approval. Mm-hmm. And so, after he scoffs and blows him off, he turns around and he's like, so what's that Junior over there? Pointing to the top of the fireplace where it's like sculptures and decorations and such sitting on top of it. He's like, what's that? Junior said, oh, that's a sculpture that my dad got from my mom. He picks it up, takes it over to him, and like he's like, made by this famous guy, it's real expensive. And John hits him up on the game, snatches it, and like, don't let me see it. Walks on out to the side. So Junior is obviously pressed, as he should be. Okay, by this time, Michael done stepped to the door and he's overseeing the situation. They don't notice him, but he is peeping him. And so he is, trying to plead his case and whatnot. And they just telling him, hey, that's how the game go. That's just the rules of the game. That's how we play. And Junior is, being vulnerable. And he like, look, man, that was my father's. Like, it really meant something to him. And I can't just let y'all do that. Like, what if I trade y'all for my phone? See, instead of him peeping this as a moment to get right on their ass, he's steady peeping it as he needs to change himself to make them be better to him. And so when he takes out the phone, it's like, what if I just trade you my phone for it? Then the other friend, who's played by another one of Damon's sons, I'm not sure what his name is, but I know it's the one that's played by the other son that is Damon's. But he snatches the phone from Junior and says, don't let me see it. And John is now like, was. I was like, yeah, they all like, they ragging on him. Tag teaming him all the way up. He pleading and whatnot. By this time, Michael walks on in and he joins in the game. He like, y'all, what's up? He playing along and whatnot. And he like, oh, that's nice right there. That's a nice ring you got on right there. What that is? And John is like, oh, that's my championship ring right there. All gold. I was the MVP. You know what I'm saying? Michael snatched that shit, say, don't let me see it. Yeah, ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. And he started talking about, but Mr. Cal, you wasn't even playing. But he said, that's how I play. Ain't nobody say that, it was all that to it. You said anybody could play. So I stepped in and I played. What you said it was. Okay. So John is like, well, baby, that was special to me. And Michael says, baby, so is that sculpture that you got in your pocket. And John wants to play the trading game now. Now John wants to play the trading game. He want to say, okay, well, what if I trade you the sculpture for my ring? Michael snatches, say, don't let me see it. Moves on about his business. Crack on his ass. Bloopity doopity. So by that time, kicks their asses out, tell them to go ahead and get ghosts. He snatched one of their hats off, say, don't let me see it. So everybody else is exiting. John's standing there pouting and whatnot. It's crazy how, I guess that's also a part of the joke too, because it is funny, because Damon Wayans Jr. looks just like Damon Wayans. He looks like Damon Wayans with a little bit of Sean sprinkled in there real good, but he looked just like Damon Wayans. So when John stops in front of Michael and he's pouting and they just have like a stare off, it's funny as fuck because we supposed to act like they don't have the same face. So my location has changed, and therefore my volume and delivery has as well. So try not to let that throw you off. I'm gonna try not to let it throw me off. All right. Now, after everybody has exited, Junior and Michael have their moments where Michael is, now having to address Junior directly about everything that he's been witnessing and everything that he just witnessed. Okay. Oh yeah. After they let stare off or whatever, Michael was like, "What's the problem, John? Something you want to say?" John say, "No." Scurry on out as he should. Now, like I said. Jimmy started laughing and whatnot because, he's finding amusement in how his daddy just got on his friends, like talking about just handle his friends. And Michael got to check him like, what you laughing at? Because look like you boo-boo fool up here. You the joke, motherfucker. So Jimmy's like, oh, it's cool, Dad. They just clowning. They just having fun, blah, blah, blah. And Michael said, who's this fence? Look at my house. It's a wreck. Look at you. They're making you look like a fool. You finna be up in here cleaning up a whole big-ass mess that you didn't make on your own. Even after the fact that these guys just sat up here and went to town on you, like, come on, dude. You okay with that? You okay with that? Okay. You might be fine with that, but I'm not. Okay. I ain't finna sit up here and just be watching my son get punked like something about. And Jay talking about, I ain't getting punked. Michael said, well, let's call your mama and see if she say you getting punked or not. I feel like Jay would come on down that highway and tell each one of them boys to square up one by one and get them a run for their money. Jay would be on that Claire type time when Claire bust that bully in the face that was messing with Junior. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, Jay definitely not finna play that. And Michael had first of all asked him to see his phone. Asked him to see his phone so he can call his mama. Junior reached his hand in his pocket. He ain't got the phone. Why? Because it got stolen. Because you remember one of his friends took it. He never got it back. So, boom. Ain't even got to do all of that because he just proved Michael's point. And that's exactly what he says. Here, punked punk. Bless your heart. Get it together. So, he hands him his friend's hat and tells him, take the boy the hat. See if you can get your damn phone back, fool. And the next scene, we are dealing with Katie, okay? And I'm not going to be spending too much time on these scenes because the general consensus is Katie is still a youngin' like talking about, and she is not used to Jay being gone at all, let alone Michael being so present, right? So there is still, some resentment there in her little baby brain. She still has fluid emotions. And she may not know exactly how to communicate them, but she knows how to show them. So as Michael is going through the different variations of like trying to make her laugh by telling her about the story of her birth, she is unimpressed, honey. None of it is doing anything for her. He tried to tell her that when he was pregnant with her and he went into labor, they had some issues because they couldn't figure out where she was gonna come out at. So the doctor gonna say, we're gonna have to do a B section on you. Flip them over. Now, honey, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing, honey? I'm just gonna leave that at that. Anyway, Katie clocks him and says, that is not true because mommy already told me that I came out of her China. Michael gonna say, yo, yeah, that was some good China too. It better have been. And Michael like, look, baby, I'm just trying to make you laugh. I'm trying to entertain you. All of that. But clearly, I'm failing. And Katie says, baby, you said it, not me. Okay? And so Michael switched it up. He said, look, something was wrong. It wasn't there, but let me tell you what it really was, okay? I was bouncing you around. I tried everything, trying to make you laugh, trying to just do all of the things that would fix all of the things. But honey, wasn't Nathaniel working, honey? Got defeated, sat down, and suddenly it occurred to me when this little boy ski in my face. Yes, honey. So he says that the doctors made a mistake at the hospital. He ended up coming home with the wrong child. The child was unruly. I didn't want to fool with him because it wasn't his child to be fooled with. It was a little boy. So he had to go on down through the highways and byways. Now by this time, Katie done got intrigued. Okay, now she's in tune to the story. She's at least in tune to the story, whether you know what I'm saying she like it or not. So he goes on all through the highways and byways trying to find where his baby done been let go at. So he come upon this white couple, and he like, wait a minute, y'all got a maid or something? You got a maid? You might have sneaked in big with one real quick, right fast. Okay. So he leave there. Next house he come upon Shaq. Shaq in there. Shaq shaking his booty for the baby. Shaq got the baby sitting in his big old shoe. Shaq tried to smile for the baby with some novelty, rotten teeth. Smack. Shaq tried to sing for the baby. He tried to do all of the things for the baby. Finally, Michael knocks on the door. Michael is at the door and he like, hey, I got a baby here. Look like you having a hard time. Let's trade. So they make the trade. And all of the things is fixed. Now, I think that all of this is just to be funny. And just to show, some of the little silly things that fathers will and should do for their kids to try to soothe them and reel them in. Because again, this particular era of sitcoms, and I say this often with these too, we have to remember too that it is highlighting gentle parenting and combating the stereotypes that the only parenting methods that black people know is to just beat their kids. So yeah. And I feel like that's something also that they're showing with his dealings with Katie specifically, in other instances, but specifically throughout these 2 episodes. Because the things that Katie says and does are things that the older generation, the old heads, would say is just disrespectful. She's just a badass child. She's just fast. She's just too smart for her own good. She need her ass beat. All this other shit, And they would feel like all types of horrific things should happen to her because she's a child having emotions. And she doesn't know how to communicate them because she doesn't have the capacity to, because she's a child. And so she's showing how she feels. Okay? And so it's great to see, especially a black father, that instead of him just getting offended, and getting wrapped up and lost in the sauce of his own emotions because his daughter is not censoring him the way that a lot of men feel like all females are supposed to just do no matter what, especially if they're your father. You're as a female, I'm your father. You're supposed to censor me. You're supposed to revere me. You're supposed to worship the ground I walk on. And instead of him having that mindset with it and being domineering about it, he is, being more, he's trying to counteract what she feels, because she's not used to him being around, and she's not used to that type of masculine energy being around her. She may even be afraid of him to a degree, as in she may not trust him because he hasn't been there to earn her trust. So instead of him trying to force her to conform, he's using this method of storytelling and trying to make her laugh and all of that to get her to let her guard down, to earn her trust through joy and laughter and friendliness, instead of trying to just steady approach her like a parent or something like that, try to like meet her where she at, meet her on her level. And that's why the whole, I ain't one of y'all friends. That's why that mentality is really not good. And I'm gonna stick a pin in that for now and we'll come back to it. Now, we pick back up. Junior has come home and it's Aretha Franklin, Respect, blasting on the radio. We know that's not a coincidence, but it's coming from kind of at a distance. There's something going on upstairs. So he makes his way on upstairs, makes his way on closer to his room, honey. And the music is coming from his room. Now, why would Aretha Franklin, Respect, be blasting from his room? Well, it might be because DJ Mikey Mike is up there having a whole party with his friends in Junior's room. And baby, these men is up there on his computer, on top of his bed with their shoes on, jumping on the bed. Okay? They are smoking Black and Milds in his room. Black and Milds, honey, in his room. They have his magazines, those magazines. They is going to town in his man room. Having a good old funky time. Junior comes in and is like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? Michael is like, yo, your room is the bomb diggity fresh. And I didn't think your sneakers would fit me, but baby, I smashed down the backs and now it's like Jordan sandals. Woo child. I don't even have to describe how hellacious that is. Ooh, child, ooh, child, ooh, child. Oh, child. I just know that in different situations, that would be a reason why somebody got blasted. Not saying that that would be right. I just know how people act over their Jordans. But yeah, so Junior is looking extra crunchy, moist, and melted at that point, as he should. Okay? Then Michael friend say, hey, some lady over here sent you a pic with some big boobs. I had to tell her, stop sending them big old boobs because you only like little boobs. Listen, I really hope that that woman is of age. And if not, okay, so I hope that that is a grown woman. For his sake, over there interacting on Junior's computer, right? Two, if it is a grown woman, someone also needs to call the cops. Okay, because yes, you know, it would make sense for Junior to be attracted to an older woman. Don't make sense for no older woman to be attracted to Junior. Okay? So yeah, but that's just a side note, all right? All right, now, Michael started talking about, I found your Playboy magazines. You know, up there in the cellar was a good place to hide. I would never found them if I wasn't jumping up and down on the bed, okay? No more monkeys jumping on the bed. So at this point, Junior is like, you know what, okay, it's enough. Michael said, I want some turkey dogs and soy milk. Hold on. Soy milk with the, wait. I just gotta stop for a second. And, make it make sense. Are they supposed to be eating the turkey dogs and drinking soy milk behind it? Is he trying to accumulate farts to stink up his room or something? Can somebody make that make sense to me, because I'm disgusted. Call him. Okay, so now, yes, he said he ordered turkey dogs and soy milk, which sounds very much so like a 1932 soldier snack. Literally, soldier at war, got about 5 minutes while, you know, he not killing nobody or nothing, and he got a little hungry and a little fuel, and he gonna have him a small cup of soy milk and a turkey dog that he had running around with him in his pocket. What in the Great Depression is going on? But outside of all of that, Junior gets to it. He says, look, I get your point. Now, can you guys get out? And Michael says, that's exactly what I wanted you to say. That's great. All right, fellas, we gotta go. Let's go. And they all like, oh, we having so much fun. Michael's like, oh, that's okay. It's okay. We can help Junior clean up. They say, oh, that's all good, bro. I gotta go. I got something to do. I gotta go mop the ocean. So then Michael was like, hey, wish I could help, but gotta go hang out with the fellas, you know what I'm saying? Did with his hand thing and shit, you know what I'm saying? Did you ever get yourself and your friends back? And he said, yeah, thanks. And Mike is like, good. And you just gonna have to realize and accept that at certain points, you gotta put your foot down, or people only gonna do what you allow. Take a stand, my guy. Take a stand, okay? Okay. And he tells him too, like, basically, with certain people, you give them inches and they're gonna take miles. If you don't never cut the road off, if you don't never block the road off, they just gonna be steady taking. As long as you give, and at a certain point, you won't even have to give it. They'll just feel like they're entitled to take, which is very much so where they're kinda at with it. But Junior tells him that he still thinks he's wrong. So, hey, you know how it go. Before Michael leaves, he takes one of Junior's little booty books. You know, the girlies in there. So we pick up in the next scene with Claire and what is her Charmaine. Try not to call her Raven. She's played by Raven Simone, but character's name is Charmaine. So pick up with them at what looks to be a coffee shop. Okay, cute. Okay, sophisticated and shit. So yeah. Now we finally getting back to the quote-unquote scandal of the episode, which is Charmaine dealing with not just a pregnancy scare. It's scary. It's even more scary because she is actually a pregnant. Okay? Tisk. So, they start at the coffee shop, commiserating like little women, okay? And, I can't wait until I do the fashion review and commentary for Claire, because I love what she has on in this scene. So yeah, let me focus. She's asking Charmaine if she's talked to David, because it's his baby too. So that lets us know that Charmaine's boyfriend and or baby father name is David. And apparently, she saw him, and he just as scared as she is, which is totally understandable. And Claire asked her, did she try to talk to her parents? She like, girl, please. You know my daddy would kill me, and my mama would freak. You are literally the only person that I can talk to. And Claire is looking at her phone, because she got to be at home by 8. And Charmaine started talking about, look, I want to run away, but I really only got $16. Claire say, honey, you really only got 6 because you still owe me 10 for that pregnancy test. Now, see, I ain't gonna lie. Had they went to somebody older or, you know, something of the sort, they would have been able to take them to a free clinic or something, or just get them one of the little dollar tests that work just as good, or they would have been able to let them know that the cheap test can be just as good. But hey, it is what it is. And Claire said, run her money. I don't know what you're gonna do, honey, but if you plan on running away, or whatever it is you plan on doing, you're gonna take care of the baby, whatever. Before that baby get anything, run me my 10. And I can't be mad at it. Let's start with the boundaries early. But Charmaine is snapping into reality, kind of, sort of, and she's like, what is she gonna do? So Claire brings up the somewhat wild yet responsible suggestion to talk to her father, talk to her daddy. And Charmaine started laughing and shit, like she literally started cackling. And Claire is like, see, I know you're gonna think it sounds stupid, but it's the truth. Like, I'm dead ass. When it comes to certain things, he can really be cool. And Charmaine is like, yo, daddy though, not your mama. That's how a lot of folks be, right? And Claire says, no, my mom would beat you with a stick. And not for real, my daddy would definitely be the cooler parent about it also. And Claire says she hates to admit it, but he actually is a pretty cool dude, and he'd be really great for her to go ahead and hit her up for some advice on this situation. And I love how they have Claire suggest something so responsible. And, she's at that age where she could literally go either way, right? Just, regardless of how she's been raised or anything. She's at that age where it's really tricky. And she could even have secondhand fear from, experiencing Charmaine's situation with her, So it is great that she's able to maintain a clear head to get to the point of being able to suggest something so mature, and even her exhibiting a level of maturity throughout the situation in the first place. Like, even though, they're being sneaky and secretive and whatnot, they're kids. So even with that, to still be exhibiting such, responsible elements, that is really refreshing to see. Because a lot of sitcoms, shows and such, act like kids, teenagers especially, are just dumb and just think with their genitalia. Which there are those, but there are also a lot of kids, teenagers, who have sense. Does not mean that they're perfect, does not mean that they cannot make mistakes, does not mean that they should be preyed on, or that they can't be preyed on, that they can't be victimized, okay? Just make sure to say that. But I just hate when people in general, and let alone like shows and movies and such, depict children, youth, as being just dumb and mindless and just every which way and loose. And especially if they're doing so without explaining one way or another how their parents or lack of parents and how the world and environment around them is contributing to that. Much like here, Claire is exhibiting, like, directly a extension and reflection of her parents, but specifically in this moment, Michael. In general, throughout the situation is how she interacts with Charmaine, and that's one thing that I love that they maintained about the characterization of Claire. Claire is still a lot like Michael personality-wise. Like, it's a part of her natural characterization that I've noticed in general, whether it's Jazz Ray Cole playing her or Jennifer Freeman playing her. Claire maintains that characterization of being the child that is the most like Michael personality-wise. And Katie has a lot of his wit and his sense of humor. But overall, personality-wise, Claire is the child that's the most like Michael. And it shows here, and it shows especially off the backs of, in the previous episode, when they had that moment of him revealing to her that he knew about the pregnancy test and that it belonged to Charmaine and all of that. And him communicating to her in a plethora of ways that he sees her. And he's not mad. He is literally open and making himself available to help, as he is a concerned parent and, in general, concerned as well as he can relate. And I love how they played with that. I love how they exhibited that. I love how they had Claire receive that as well. And I can't remember if I said this or not, but just in case I'm reiterate it. I love how, like I said, them being in the coffee shop, I know that they were showing them on some sophisticated shit. I noticed it because it's not something that they usually show, that is usually shown, especially from that time period, on sitcoms with the children characters, so very interesting how they place them there at the coffee shop to show them like on some sophisticated, mature shit, right? We have Charmaine, who in a way could be adultified, or is going through an experience that will adultify her one way or another, right? And a lot of other people are going to use it as opportunities to adultify her in abusive ways, right? So we have that mirroring and juxtapositioning Claire, who is exhibiting adult-like qualities in the way that she is supporting her friend. She has been keeping the secret, but she's also been telling her friend the truth and holding her accountable all at the same time and asking her the right questions. And that being said, too, I wonder if there is this thing of them kind of placing Charmaine's character in front of Claire to kind of say, like, how a lot of young people, a lot of people in general, honestly, because their mindset tends to come from adults when children have the mindset that having sex is being grown. So if they're kind of playing on the mindset of people who think that way, to say, you thought you was being grown by having sex. Now you finna find out what it's really like to be grown. One, having to make either or decision. Two, having to raise the baby. Three, Claire has now presented another adult option to, if you're not going to face the blues in a mature manner with your parents specifically, do it with your friends' parents at least. Go to an adult at least that can at least be a cushion and or a witness at least, some type of facilitator of peace in the situation. Because Charmaine is clearly frightened. And not just frightened in her situation. It seems like she's also afraid of her parents, lacks trust with her parents, which could also kind of mirror and parallel what I described about Katie. So yeah, I love how calculated this show be also, all the while. So we pick up with Junior and Katie. And they are in the kitchen. Katie's sitting on top of the counter. And Junior look like he's doing dishes by way of the dishwasher or whatever. So Katie is talking about weird, huh? He like, what is she talking about? She said, can you drive? He like, what? But he said no. She said, excuse me. And just storms off. So she go in the living room with Michael, turns off his TV. He pop up. He like, what's wrong with you? She said, you lied to me. And he said, about what? She said, you said Junior could drive. And Junior just told me he can't drive. He said, what? She said, you said Junior drove you to the hospital. Junior just told me he can't drive. That means you lied. Maybe everything you say is a lie. Michael, Richard, Kyle. So he said, Katie, Melissa, James, Spilk, and Kyle. You sound just like your mother. Look, I was trying to get you out of the bad mood you was in. She said, but you lied. You lied. You ain't have to lie. Why you have to lie, Craig? You ain't got to lie, Craig. He said, well, look, the truth wasn't that interesting to you. So look, what up? Look, come. I'll tell you what really happened. She sits on down her cute laugh it. And he go to running on off at the mouth. We get a scene with Jay looking damn good. And I believe that Tisha Campbell is actually pregnant here. Like, she don't have on a pregnant belly in this scene or on the show when she's doing this scene. I believe she's actually pregnant here because in real life she was pregnant. And I believe that's why she wasn't on the first couple episodes of the season. And child, we're going to have some controversial conversations by the time her character is officially back into the show. But yeah. So yeah. We get into this like dream sequence type shit of him trying to tell her the real story. So we get to see Jay, like I said, she laid on the couch all big and a pregnant with a bad wig on. And the baby just pops out, honey. Just pops out on over there in Michael's arms. And she said, well, child, whew, that was a lot of work. When we all get something to eat. Aye. And we flash back and Katie is looking at him real crazy. Like, sir, I am not buying that. Again, this is another implementation of us not being shown the stereotypical imagery of a child just being dumb and naive and you having the ability to play in their face. So yeah, the only one that they do that with is Junior. But also though, if I'm not mistaken, it's gonna be times where they play more on the light-skinned, ditzy, airheaded stereotype with Claire. And honey, we'll take care of that when we get to it. But one thing that remains is the heart and the wit that the character has. We're gonna give props to what they do. We're gonna criticize where it calls for criticizing. But anywho, so Michael is like, okay, maybe it wasn't that easy, but it was easy, all right? Bear with me. Katie said, baby, the truth spit out right now. Michael says, okay, look, it really didn't seem like you liked me right away, all right? You would cry like every time I would hold you. You preferred your mama to me. It started the first time she fed you, child. Just, I got a hold to you, and I couldn't settle you down until you was just all over and over me. And we get like the dreamy flashback sequence of it and all of that good stuff. He's holding on to her. She acting a clown. Pass her back to Jay. She calm down. Pass her back to Michael. She back acting a clown, honey. Tried it a couple of times and eventually he just give up. And we'll stick a pin in that. Right? Okay, so yeah. He was just like basically he accepted in that moment that she was mommy's girl. And he knows it sounds silly and not very grown up, but it makes him very sad to know that he can't make her happy while her mommy is gone. Cause the truth is, ever since she was born, he's been trying to win over her heart. And it makes Katie smile and she kisses him on his big old bald head and he grins. And then she say, keep trying, Baldy, and rubs his head and runs away. Now, like I said, we give props what they do and we criticize where necessary. So, what he expressed it very well. And he accepts the rejection quite well also. I also feel like it's important the language that he uses when he describes his feelings about her, not being as warmed up to him as she is to her mother and all that good stuff. I think he handles it quite well. And given the necessary persistency, like I said, it's important the language that he uses, and I feel like he uses the right language. Reason why I say that is because, your parents teach you how to function in relationships. And so she needs to have that example. It's important for children in general to have the example and to be around adults, including their parents, be it the mother or the father, whoever, grandparents, whoever, that their boundaries are respected. Like, yes, all the blood relation and carried on for 9 months and you skeeted them out and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, all that. But also, y'all are two individuals getting to know each other. That y'all don't know you like that either. And then especially, if you have like a multitude of other things to tend to, work, your own business, other kids, all of that, certain things can get lost in the sauce and then therefore lost in translation. Kids experience resentment as well. So it's important and it's very great that he has been honoring and validating her emotions consistently, as well as honoring his own and expressing them to her, that good exchange. What I'm going to criticize here is what's shown about the characterization of Michael in his flaw as a man conditioned by the society. Like I said before earlier in the review, men are often conditioned that women are supposed to censor them, worship the ground that they walk on, especially when it's their daughters, their wives, women that they feel like they are possessive of, that they own, that they have ownership of, that they are territorial of, and therefore more protective of in an egotistical sense. And like I said, women are often girls, and women are often conditioned that they are supposed to center men, especially their fathers. They're not supposed to disagree with anything. Reminds me of A Doll's House. That monologue is literally coming to mind right now as I'm talking about that. It's a monologue in the play, and I believe there's also a movie for it. It was a very popular play, but what's the name of it? It don't matter. Listen, the main character in the play, she has a monologue where she's about to leave her husband, and she is getting to the point of telling him that she's going to divorce him. And she tells him, sit down there. I have a lot to say to you. You don't know me, and for 8 years, I don't think we've ever had one single conversation. You haven't asked me one serious question about myself. You don't really care about me. You don't really care about my identity, my experiences, my interests, and all of that. You just feed me whatever you like, whatever you want, whatever you need and desire, and then I'm just supposed to take it on as my own. And I didn't think nothing of it at first, because that's exactly how my daddy raised me. My daddy raised me that I'm just supposed to take on all of his needs, desires, likes, and all of that. Whatever he says he likes, I know not to say if I disagree. Because that's just gonna go straight to hell. So I gotta just take on whatever these men who have ownership of me say I'm supposed to like, and say I'm supposed to be interested in, say I'm supposed to laugh at, say I'm supposed to be entertained by. I entertain them by being entertained by them, despite the fact that I may not really give a fuck. You feel me? And so it's a very interesting phenomenon, but it is very common. It is very common, and I think that it is very impressive the way they played it out. But it speaks to something that I've been pointing out about the characterization of Michael, and something that I appreciate about the show as well. They don't deify Michael. Even though it's Damon Wayans' character, and this is his show, they don't halo effect him. And that is a flaw. That is a character flaw of him to feel, and don't get me wrong, it's understandable, like as a parent, of course, you want to have I would expect you to want to have a good relationship with your kid, of course. But what I'm talking about here is the deeper roots of something else that is being communicated and shown here, based on the social conditioning of the society that we're in, specifically in the United States of America. But it's not just in the United States of America. It's quite in a lot of places in the world where women are expected to just shut up and nod and do whatever their male owners say, laugh at all their jokes and all that good stuff. And therefore, Katie is being used here to humble Michael. Katie is a character that is sometimes used to humble Michael, to bring him down to earth, to remind him that he is not perfect, that he is not beyond reproach, that even though this little girl may be crazy about him, she is not about to kiss his ass and just tell him what he want to hear and just laugh at his jokes, even if she think they not funny, just because that's what he want her to do, just because that's her daddy. And no, she's not disrespectful for that. And no, she don't need a whooping for that. She's an individual. Because he'll be glad that she's that way once she's a teenager, okay? And things get different, all right? He's gonna be glad that she make a man work for it. He gonna be glad that she make them little boys work for it, okay? Whatever it is. And that's why I wanted to tap into that specifically too, because a lot of people don't realize that when they raise their kids, be it male or female children, when they raise their kids to have blind loyalty to their parents and to not be allowed to have boundaries even with their parents, they're setting their kids up to be susceptible to being taken advantage of, exploited, abused, all of that. And don't get me wrong, you can't stop everything, but you also don't have to make it so easy. Because had this been, let's say good times, to be honest, had this been good times and it was Katie instead of Thelma, and Katie had that same house, regardless of the age, they might not have shown it on TV, but I guarantee James would crack Katie upside the head for any little to large things that Katie had said to Michael throughout their situation. And all of that, like, you don't want to like go along with certain shit that I want you to go along with. Yeah, Katie been knocked through a wall. Messing around with James. And I ain't saying it's right. It's a release. It's a release. But Katie been knocked through a wall messing around with James. And it's good to see that evolution, And a different example, a better example. Because that type shit, that like the child sets a boundary or doesn't want to do something that you want them to do, and it's not even like that big of a deal type shit, and you want to respond to them with violence and force and all this other stuff, that teaches your kids how to be punk ass bitches, just to be plain and simple about it. That teaches your kids that it's a time and a place for them to be abused in the name of love, in the name of a title, in the name of money, in the name of a roof over their head. So as I often say, you get out here and you see your kids, or your nieces, your nephews, and or whatever have you. You see them get out into the world, and they're in these relationships, and they're being treated certain ways, and you're wondering why they won't leave, why they don't seem to see anything wrong with it. You got to reflect on what they were seeing, what was being said to them, yes, but also, and even more so, what was being shown to them And how were adults, specifically their parents, responding to them when it came to certain things, especially when they were expressing themselves and or setting boundaries, whatever, what have you. You know what I'm saying? Disrespect is disrespect, but expressing yourself, setting boundaries, and rejecting what you don't want to be a part of, what you don't consent to, that's not disrespect. I do think that children like Katie, much like I was, I do think she's a gifted child. Also much like Franklin, who hasn't been introduced yet. I don't think. No, Franklin hasn't been introduced yet. But Franklin is also a gifted child as well, like strikingly gifted as well. And I do think that those children are challenging. Like, I definitely think those children are challenging because one, the conditioning and the teachings that when children are like that they're just supposed to be beat. They're supposed to have the light and the brilliance and the genius and the giftedness and the outspokenness and the liberatedness beat out of them and all that shit. And in a lot of people's mind, that's supposed to be making them disciplined and teaching them respect. That's not what's actually happening. And so I think that I can't say exactly what it is, but those children do need extra attention in different ways. I think they need extra communication. I think that may also be another reason why we see so much dialogue between Michael and Katie, as well as all of the rest of the children. But like I said, amongst showing the different options and parenting styles, gentle parenting, not just beating the kids, there's more communication, there's more reasoning, there's more asking of questions and simply listening to the answers and letting them just be. And I mean specifically from the parent side. We see a lot of both Michael and Jay. Jay is more reactive, and that is also reflective of her response to her upbringing. But even still, for the most part, they don't shut their kids down when they're expressing themselves and they're exhibiting whatever brilliance or uniqueness they have, even if it's something discomforting and challenging. They embrace it. They ask questions about it. They pick their brains. They try to figure it out so that they can figure out how to meet them, where to meet them, and how to speak their language. Because what's important to them is getting the message across. Not putting their dick on the table. Not showing them who's boss. Not instilling fear, thinking that is respect. Not just trying to prove a point, but actually raising your kids by treating them like people who you genuinely value and want a relationship of quality and quantity with. Not treating them like you can just get another one or, oh, you got two. No. And that's something that is very notable about this show too. I feel like it's an element of the Cosby Show as well. But each child being unique and their uniquenesses are embraced in different ways as individuals. They are all appreciated in different ways as individuals. They're not treated disposable in comparison to another or under certain circumstances, But yeah. I'm stick a pin in that, okay? And child, let's get on through. And let me make it clear what I was criticizing too. I was criticizing the character Michael having that pig-headed mindset of feeling entitled to his daughter's acceptance and adornments and things of that nature. However, I applaud the character all at the same time for the way that he handles himself and his daughter despite that. And I applaud the way that it's all written and depicted. So yeah, we pick up with Claire and That's So Raven. I couldn't resist. We pick up with Claire and Charmaine. I'm sorry, Charmaine is on the Cosby Show in my mind, child. This is That's So Raven. This is Olivia from the Cosby Show and That's So Raven. And I'm gonna note it as I've been noting it, those parallels and certain like callbacks and homages to the Cosby Show that I notice that are done in this show. I don't know the determining factors behind bringing Raven-Symoné on, besides, hey, she might have just had the best audition. But I do think that's an interesting, I don't believe in coincidences, but I do think that's an interesting coincidence too. The callbacks and homages and whatnot, parallels and whatnot of this show to the Cosby Show. And then we have Raven-Symoné here, who was also on the Cosby Show. But anywho, they having a round table discussion with Michael, and it seems like it picks up in the middle of them talking, and Michael is saying it doesn't make you a bad person that this has happened, and Charmaine says thank you, and then he gonna tell Claire, but if it happened to you, you be a bad person. And we know he don't mean that. He's just making it clear that he's not encouraging her to go do it now, just because he said it. So Charmaine goes on and asks, what does he think that she should do next, though? He tells her, go ahead, get rid of that notion of running away, okay? You ain't got no job, you ain't got no money, all right? So just cancel all that. You ain't got no place to stay. Secondly, talk to your parents. She said, no, they're gonna kill her. He said, no, they won't. And he's so silly. He said, that remind me of this play I was just in where the white characters, it's two white women characters, because it's a satire play. Child, it's a whole lot going on. But just long story short, the two white women characters are trying to play the black grandma in the sitcom that they done invaded. I know it sounds crazy, it is. And so once they invade the sitcom, this black sitcom, all of the white characters just start making up this story, all types of stories. But one of the stories that they done made up and just put on this family is that the teenage daughter is pregnant. And the two white women characters trying to play the black grandma, they just keep yelling in the midst of all of the confusion and people arguing. The mama is fussing at the daughter who is not pregnant, but they just keep saying that she is. They done brought a pregnancy test and everything. And just randomly in the midst of all of this chaos, over and over again, the two white women characters playing the black grandma talking about, I'll take care of the baby. Just give me the baby. I'll take care of the baby. I'm fucking screaming. But anywho. So anyway, he tells her, look, bottom line is, you just got to ask yourself, do you feel like your parents really love you? She said, yeah. So he said, go ahead. You got to talk to them. Because if you truly believe that, then it's at times like these that you should expect them to step up. And they should step up. And if they really for really like this hurt, that's what they going to do. And mind y'all, it ain't none of that. They got to kick your ass out or none of that. He said, this is a time where they step up. Not a time where they beat you, or push you down some stairs, or drag you to a clinic, calling you all types of bitches and hoes, trying to... You know what I'm saying? I just been seen and heard some things out here about how people be treating their kids when they done got, caught slipping and whatnot. And it's like, baby, that's a reflection that you have dropped the ball somewhere with your kid. That don't make your kid bad. That means you missed something. You need to recollect. You need to tap back in. Like I said, this is more of a reason to step up, not push your child away or disown them or anything of that nature. That's stupid. But she is receiving of that. And Michael says the last thing he got to do is talk to the boyfriend and talk to his parents. And then maybe all of them can get together and help sort the thing out. It's not the end of the world. And she's finally able to see that and accept that. Okay. And Michael goes on to say that he personally believes that every child is a gift. And Claire is like, hey, look at that. I told you he was good. I told you he was good. All right. By this time, no, Charmaine got to go. All right. Claire gonna help her gather her things. And Charmaine gonna say to him, Mr. Kyle, I didn't think that anybody your age would understand. I'm fucking screaming, but I understand why she would have that mentality though. So it gives that her parents might not even be like real militant. They might just be real old school. They might be older than Michael and Jay, because of course Michael and Jay were teenagers when they had their parents. So it is very possible that they're younger, they're younger than a lot of the parents of the classmates of their kids also. So I would imagine it could create like this cognitive dissonance, I guess. But like I said, she may be coming up with like really, really old school parents who are older. Like I said, they're teenagers. Claire is probably 14 at that point. So I believe Michael is 40. I believe Michael is described to be at least 39 or 40 by this time in the show. So Charmaine's parents may be in their 50s, which is also probably two different eras, because that's about a decade, maybe some change. So quite a few things can change about society and what's acceptable, certain things of that nature, certain things remain the same, all that. So yeah, all that to say, from Charmaine's perspective, I understand why she would say that, because like I said, her parents may be quite a bit older, and therefore they may have a more demonizing perspective of what's going on. They may be a lot more strict, a lot less giving of space to express oneself. There may be a whole lot more pressure to show up perfect. I wouldn't even be surprised if her daddy was a pastor or a politician or works for a politician or did something like that, where it's a whole lot of obsessing over image. But also, there's that time period, what is it, the 1950s? Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all. But was that the Dapper era, where like black people were hyper focused on the respectability politics of it all, how they dressed themselves, how they presented themselves, the way they talk, and all the things tailor made, all of that, which is not bad, but a lot of elements of it was lending towards what they call it, hyper civilization, which is toxic. I'm saying all that to say that Charmaine's parents may not beat her. They may not even like yell like talking about, but it may be just enough pressure to show up perfect all the time that it is abusive, mentally, emotionally, perhaps even spiritually. So that being said, and a lot of people who came up in certain those time periods specifically, they have their mindset real strong. So Charmaine may be used to the collective of adults who have that mindset more strong, and not so much of the collective of adults that is in the generation that Michael and Jay are in. Okay, I took a scenic route, but we got there. And Michael goes on to explain to her, well, Charmaine, I'm speaking from experience, of course. And he goes on to explain that Jay got pregnant when they were 16. It was a huge responsibility, life-changing situation. She asked what they do. He said they had a son, child. And it's a situation he never regretted in his life, no matter what challenges came from it. Honey, why he say that? Because in comes the bootlicker, the water boy himself. The pick-me. What would you call him? Pick-a-monte? Y'all help me out in the comments. Come up with a male version of Pick Me, the version of a male name to go along with Pick Me, because that's what Junior is giving right now. He is carrying all of the bags of all of the boys, looking a fool. And we transition on into the living room, where He is steady getting done up, honey. Not to mention, and this is a reminder too. I am also being reminded in this moment, specifically because of how this is shot. This whole episode, they haven't been for a lot of the episode. The boys have been sitting down, so I forgot how tall all of them were and how much taller they are than Junior. So it now reminds me, them all towering over him like this, standing so close to him, picking at him and whatnot. It's reminding me that Junior made the basketball team. That's where he done got these friends from out of nowhere, because he made the basketball team. And it's reminding me too that he may also be being, can I say this on here? He may also be being hazed because he's a shorty on the basketball team. You know, it takes a lot to be considered tall on a basketball team. And so, yeah. And that being said, he may also have like a little man complex, which would probably influence him to be a pick-me, to try to be accepted. You know, he can't change his height, but he can kiss up. Pun intended. But they ragging on him about his head and whatnot, telling him it's jacked up, the back ain't right, all that, comparing it to a basketball. Honey, then Claire walks in, and Mr. Disrespectful himself, Joe Nathan, decides to turn around, lure. Is that the word? No, not lure. What's the word? When you looking at somebody in a way that, fuck it. He's looking at her all lusty and shit. Turn around looking at her all lusty. Now, like I said, Claire is no more than 14. She might even be 13, because I believe on the first season she was 12. So it hasn't been that much time in between. So she might just be 13. I think Junior's finna say her age. But yeah, this boy in high school. And I'm pretty sure he in like at least 11 or 12th grade. He ain't got no business looking at her. Stop the madness, please. And then talking about he likes to pound that. Pound what? Pound what? Sir. People send their kids out into the world with no home training. Raggedy. So Junior checked him real quick, right fast, as he should, okay? And one thing about it, honey, if something is divinely designed, the universe will make sure what you value is brought to your attention through what it is that you need to rectify. Make it even more clear. This show's here. No matter what Junior say or none of that shit, he don't play by his sister, period. And we love to see it. So yeah, all the shit that Junior been taking out for these boys, he was TTG when it came to this here situation. And he like, dude, that's my sister. Back the fuck up. Back it up. And so Joe Nathan don't sit up here. It's very hard for me to not call him Damon, because he got his whole face. But yeah, Joe Nathan gonna turn around talking about how can someone as ugly as you be related to someone as fine as that. You shouldn't let it get this far. Comes to the light. You shouldn't let it get that far. Because here's how they feel about you. Here's how they feel about you. Goddamn, I'm glad y'all said it all. But not for real. Let's get through it. So he say that raggedy ass, disrespectful ass shit to Junior. And then he going to talk about, so what's up with her? Okay, and then Junior confirms, what the fuck are you talking about? He didn't say what the fuck. I'm saying what the fuck. But in the energy that he probably wanted to give, he probably wanted to say what the fuck. So I'm giving it for him. He said, what the fuck are you talking about? That's my sister. She ain't but 14. So he confirms she's 14. All right, she's 14. So big. Now, he say, look, I ain't playing. Lay off my sister, all right? He told my soul I ain't trying to hear all that. Hook me up. Oh, Steve, right? Get him out of here. Get him out of her. Out of her. Her. Wrap it up, kid. Wrap it up. Cancel Christmas. That brother's starving. He is starving. But it is he who needs to be ate. What's that called? The fuck up. Whew. So Claire walks in and it's like, so hey y'all, what's up? This big and tall bastard goes out of his way to put his arm around her, draws her in, all assertively, aggressively, and carrying on. So Junior intercepts, stirs her on off, encourages her to continue it up upstairs. Then his daddy come out of him, honey, talking about, and take their makeup off, and change your clothes, put on a trench coat. No. No. What you need to do is ask Joe Nathan to step outside and run you your babe. And whether he whoop your ass or not, which he probably will, you need to call the cops. Because we already learned earlier in the episode that he's a thief, okay? Now we learn that he's also a predator. And it's been clear that he's a bully, so call the cops, call DHS, where his folks at, who is people. Somebody needs to come claim him and rectify his situation. Because this is bigger than love, hoes, bros, and basketball. He sounds like he needs to be bounced on down to a juvenile detention center. Rehab something. He's out of control. Anywho, Claire continues on upstairs. Junior turned to him and say, look, man, it's one thing to come in the house, disrespect me, drink up all my juice, but you're not going to disrespect my baby sister. It's time for all of y'all to go. I was like, man, what's up with the hostility, man? I thought we was boys. Think, thought, thunk. Get the fuck out. Then Big Yellow gonna step his big stick of juicy fruit looking ass up, talking about, look, she bound to date sometime. Why not let it be one of us? Mr. Sir, Steve right, get him out of here. Junior on the same time I'm on, he understand what's going on. He stepped down, he said, all right, dude, let's go. Now, Junior, baby, I told you, tell them to step outside. Don't be in there messing up your mama's good furniture, the paint on the wall, that good decor. She got a nice plant right there next to the door. Don't be in there tearing up your folks' stuff. Tell them to step outside. And if they jump you, you can scream like a bitch and attract witnesses. Okay? Think, boy, think. But you cooking, no, you cooking. I'm gonna let you do that, okay? So, Juicy Fruit gonna step his big yellow ass down talking about, hey, I'm 6'5". And my dude, I'm motherfucking Rumpelstiltskin. And what? Ain't the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. And Jay understand the assignment. He say, I'm gonna beat you till you're 5'3". Beat him till he 4'3". And you gonna have to reroute, spin the block, make a U-turn, all that good shit, and tap Joe Nathan upside his dome too. But Joe Nathan stepped between them. The future situation is like, look, we hit it out. But look, one more thing though. Don't forget my soy milk. Fool, you crazy. Junior say, you think you're gonna come up in here and try to boss me around for some soy milk? Like some soybean burger? Bitch, you got life fucked up. And he check himself, he fix himself, he say, all right, see you tomorrow, Junior. Try to pound him up, fist bump type shit. Junior go ahead and fist bump his ass. Bless your heart, sir, and good luck, sir. Good luck. Because sometimes, all it takes is one time, and sometimes, people just get better at performing. Keep your good eye open. And so we're wrapping up the episode with the kids surprising Michael look like for dinner. They got him blindfolded and they singing and playing Stevie Wonder, I just called to say that I love you. And he also like playing along, acting like he's Stevie Wonder on some shit. So they take the blindfold off him. Ain't no food in the plate. He said, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Is this a dead man's diet? And so I guess he done cracked himself up, child. But Claire walks over up to no good. They say, we made you dinner, Daddy. Jean say, yeah, we made all your favorites. And Claire takes out this box and pours out all the cereal out the box into his bowl and say, I baked you a sirloin steak with mashed potatoes and a Caesar salad. Petty boots. And I'm very sure this is Claire's idea. So in case you ain't know or forgot, this is a callback to the first part of the episode 1, that is, where he brought them into breakfast, asked them what they wanted for breakfast. They said all this elaborate ass shit, and he poured cereal into their bowls, talking about, no, it was eggs. He had eggs. He said a bunch of scrambled eggs, and he poured it on their plate, and he said that it was what they had asked for, but it wasn't. So they brought his ass in here, like they surprising him with a good 5-star dinner. They took the blindfold off and poured him a bowl of cereal, talking about it's a sirloin steak. Bless it. That's why I said, I can see it being Claire initiating that idea type shit, because she's often the one that turns his games around on him. But he takes it on the chin though. He takes it on the chin and he's like, look, instead of anybody cooking tonight, why don't I just take y'all out for dinner instead? And so Claire starts celebrating. See, I told y'all it would work. I'm gonna go get changed. And then Jinko talk about, and no glitter. Oh, sir, please, pow, pipe down. And he got his hat on, honey. And he turned around and started rubbing his what's that? Is that your temples or whatever? Start rubbing the outsides of his eyes and his eyebrows. Talking about dad. I don't know what I'm going to do. Somebody can't wait for her to be 21 so she can be out of his hair. And Michael gonna say he can't wait to get some hair so they can be all out of his hair. Ooh, I cannot. So Michael goes on to say to Junior that he heard about what he did for Claire earlier that day and that he's very proud of him. And so he takes that, kind of subtly. He's being bashful or whatever, but he starts cleaning up and whatnot. He goes on about his business. Katie gets on up and gets in Michael's lap, and she says she hopes that mommy will stay away for a little while longer. Michael says, you do? She says, just a little bit. And so they hug it out and it's a great time, and we love to see it. So I enjoy a lot more about these episodes than I dislike. I'm gonna explain why I said that like that. Because I love the storyline and the way that it plays out with Claire and Charmaine and the pregnancy scare and the pregnancy, all of that. I like the things that they're showing and playing with when it comes to Michael relating to them and him supporting and helping them navigate it, as well as, still maintaining the boundaries as a parent and them, the children, and all that good stuff. Also with Junior and his friends, kind of showing some of where that whole herd mentality with boys tends to come from. And it's quite a bit of like conversations and implementations, things being pointed out about the detriment of male centering and hyper masculinity, as well as toxic femininity, along with toxic masculinity, And at certain times, places, and in certain cases, hyper masculinity and toxic masculinity can be used interchangeable, but not necessarily all the time. But yeah, a whole lot of that was, implemented in this episode and displayed and conversed about and gave us a lot to converse about and all of the things. And like I said, I criticized where it was due and I applauded very heavily where it was due too. There is a whole lot more to be appreciated about the episode than not. The parts that I didn't really like were like the dream sequence stuff, but that's just me in general. I don't really like dream sequence flashback stuff like that. I really don't like that. It has to be done extremely well and with like some really like deep purpose that was like you just had to do that, you know what I'm saying? Otherwise, I don't really be liking the flashback dream sequence stuff. Even in episodes where, and I'm very likely not going to do those episodes too. The episodes like where they have them like that on Martin. There are some episodes like that on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air too, where there are flashback, dream sequence type episodes. I just don't like it. But what I was able to appreciate about it, about it in this episode, with this show in particular, and dealing with Katie, was that it was, centered around the conversation and the implementation of Michael being patient, earning his child's trust, and earning the relationship with her overall. Not just being domineering and feeling entitled to it just because he's her father and she just got to like him. She don't. Y'all building a relationship with each other, and it's your responsibility as the parent to set the tone, to lead the relationship how you want to experience the relationship, be the change that you want to see. And I ain't saying it's just that simple, but that's what you sign up for when you become a parent. It's not on the child to lead the relationship or set the tone of the relationship. So that's why even in moments where the child gets disrespectful, it's still like you still have to constantly like work on yourself to be so secure that you're not like hella moved by that, because you look crazy letting them lead the relationship in a way where, because they get disrespectful, you gonna lower yourself to their level and be disrespectful. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Who's the parent? Who's the adult? Who's the leader? And if you don't have the capacity to control yourself and process your own emotions, deal with your own shit, how can you truly expect them to be able to do so, let alone receive your trying to teach them anything? And children see that. They see when you don't truly accept yourself, and therefore you're incapable of truly accepting them. And they will reject you as a result, because they know before, and if it is not beat out of them, they know and recognize that you may not truly be all that safe for real, specifically when it comes to certain things, and at certain times, and at certain places. And therefore, they just should not be involved with you. A lot of us have that knowing when we're children, but a lot of people end up having it beat and stomped and choked and all that out of them. And then they have the hardest time finding their way back to it. So then, like what I was talking about at the beginning, they end up in a lot of relationships where they're having a hard time removing themselves, freeing themselves from the dynamic, because they feel obligated to be the reason why it all stays together. Like Rashida Frost type shit. The way Bambi gets attacked, and it's often said to her, "You broke up the family. The way the women are often blamed for breaking up families because they're separating themselves, taking steps back, moving on, after they recognize that people or situations and environments are not safe. And so, like I said, I appreciate that element of the display and the conversation that is presented there, despite the flashback dream sequence scenes and stuff. But that's another reason why I feel like this show is hella slept on, because like I tend to always say, it's funny as fuck and it's very lighthearted, but it's a lot of real shit being implemented and talked about, and the way that they're able to do it and maintain the lightheartedness of it is amazing. Amongst, like I mentioned before, the way that he handles all of the children as a collective and as individuals, the way that both parents handle them. But of course, we're dealing with Michael in these first couple episodes of this season. But yeah, I think I did really great at unpacking a lot of the subjects and topics and such as I went through. And so, hey, I enjoyed myself. I enjoy both of these episodes. Also, literally the only thing I don't like is the flashback dream sequences. But I started thinking about it too. It may have also kind of been a way for certain other people to get some checks, like Tisha Campbell. I'll be trying so hard not to merge her and Tashina Arnold's names together, but it probably helped Tisha Campbell get a check real quick before she went into labor. Probably helped certain other reoccurring characters that we were introduced to last season, or certain other people that'll be reintroduced throughout the rest of the season, for them to pop in and get a check real quick. We got a cameo from Shaq for whatever reason, but it's a lot of basketball references in the show and all of that, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I don't be mad at it either. It'd be funny and it'd be cool. I also don't know if that white couple house that he went to in the flashback sequence is like anybody that's real prominent in the entertainment industry or anything, like any old TV shows or movies or anything. I don't know. But yeah, if you know, hell, let me know. But with all that being said, child, if I do say so myself, honey, I have milked this couch right, and I am thoroughly appreciative for the exchange of vibes. And if you feel synchronized, please do me a divine design and like, share, and subscribe, so that you can be one of the first to be back through these queen quotes for next time. And be sure to bless that comment section with your questions and conversations. And as always, I bid you in all ways like love, healing, and liberation. Emphasis on liberation. Mwah.
getting paid, bitch? Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? She tastes the flavors. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm getting paid, bitch. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? She tastes the flavors.